morning, guys. Happy Monday. Today we're going to be looking at measures 27 to 35 in Tadihe. So go ahead, check the description box, click on the timestamp for your section, and let's get started. All right, first violins. So there's actually quite a bit of shifting in this section, so let's mark in these fingerings. Starting at 27, both of those E's need to be a fourth finger. In 28, the E flat accidentals at the beginning of the measure last until the end of the measure, so you might want to mark that in just to remind yourself. In 29, all of those D's are going to be open. And then in 30, the printed fingering that has you shifting to a first finger on the C is good. You might just add the Roman numeral 3 to show that you're going into third position. You're going to stay in third position all of 30 and 31. And then in 32, you're actually going to shift back a half step so that your first finger is on B natural on the G string, or your second finger tape if you've got one. And this is second position, so you're going to want to mark it with a Roman numeral 2. So the fingering for 32 will be 1, 4, 1, 4. 33 will be 1, 4, 1, 4. For the G sharp, you're going to stay in second position and use a high 2. For the A, it'll be a 3 right next to it. The G natural will be a low 2. Back to a high 2 in the first beat of 34 for the G sharp. G sharp again, A with a 3, B with a 4, and then the last note of 34, you're going to shift back down to first position on the E. So let's talk through this second position part. So let's start right on it in 32. If you have a second finger tape, you're going to put your first finger on your second finger tape, or if you don't have a tape and you still need help finding it, you can walk up in first position to B, and then replace your second finger with your first finger. Okay? Then, keeping your first finger down, you're going to find B on the D string by placing your fourth finger. And that's an octave. So 32 is just those two notes. 33 starts out the same way. G sharp with a high 2. 3 right next to it for A. And then G, you're going to move your second finger back up, A, and shift down on that last E. I'm going to go through this really slowly one more time. Starting in 32, I'm going to walk up and find B, replace it with my first finger, find the octave, and here we go. High 2, low 2, one more time. Walk up, replace, find the octave, If you haven't played in second position before, or you haven't played in it very much, this is probably going to take a little bit of practice. What I would recommend if you're having trouble finding these notes is playing it through once in first position, even though it'll be awkward and you'll be jumping over a string. Play it through once in first position, or maybe a few times, and then get it in your ear what it's supposed to sound like, then try it in second position and it'll be a lot easier to find. Other than that, I want to point out the bow lifts. Just like yesterday, there's bow lifts in 27, 29, 31, and 33, and then the alternating measures there is no bow lift, so just be careful about that. There's a crescendo in 34, which mimics the crescendo that we added in 26 yesterday. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward as far as the rhythm, exactly the same as yesterday, so set your metronome at 100 and we're going to play through it. 2, ready, go. slide at the end, shifting back to that E, no big deal. I think it actually adds something nice to the phrase. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you again tomorrow for the next section. All right, second violins. So this section starting at 27 continues the tango rhythm that you guys played previously, the last, what, 4 measures. So the rhythm is the same. However, the notes do change and there are some funky things going on. So look at measure 28. See where it says low 1 and then 2? You're actually going to go into half position here. All that means is your second finger is going to end up where your first finger would normally be. So on 28 you start on an E flat, so that would be a low 1. Now if I had a first finger tape here, that's where I would put my second finger right next to it. Okay? The reason we do that is so that we don't have to go E flat and then hop to a B. In the measure right after that, 29, I would mark that D as an open just to remind yourself that you're going back into regular first position. In measures 30 and 31, all of those A's and the D are going to be a fourth finger. 32 and 33 for the G sharps, you're going to use a high 3, and keep in mind that the accidental lasts through the entire measure, so it's not just the first G sharp, but all of the G's in that measure are sharp. In 33 also, the second to last note is an F natural. That's not an accidental, it's just, I would mark an arrow down to remind yourself that it's low after playing that high 3. And then in 34, I would mark an arrow down on the C because it's a regular 3 after you've been playing high 3s. High 2 for the B natural, and then the last note of 34 is a G sharp, which you're going to play with a low 1. And you'll see that I marked in the half position with a little caret between the low 1 and the 2 to show that those 2 fingers are going to touch. Other than that, the only thing I wanted to mention were, again, the bow lifts are a little funky. They're basically every other measure. So 27, 29, 31, and 33 have bow lifts. And then the alternating measures, even though it's the same rhythm, there's not a bow lift there, so just be careful. All right, other than that, mind the dynamics and set your metronome at 100. We're going to play through this. 2, ready, go. And one thing I should mention is that last note is an eighth note. Look at 26. There it was very similar and we added a crescendo, so it's even more similar. But in 26 you had 4 quarter notes, and in 34 you have 3 quarter notes and an eighth note. Make sure it's really nice and short to really demonstrate that there is an eighth note rest there. Okay, thanks so much. I will see you back here tomorrow for the next section. Violas. So you've got a really sassy little pizzicato rhythm here at 27. We're going to need to do it with your bow in your hand because you've only got 1 beat to get into the pizzicato and then 2.5 to get out of it. So go ahead and keep your bow in your hand for this. Let's talk about the rhythm first. Resting on beat 1, 2 and you pluck. Then you're resting on 3 and 4 and playing on the and of 3 and the and of 4. So it's rest, 2 and rest. 2 and, ba, 2 and, etc. So it looks kind of confusing, but it's really not that bad, and it's the same rhythm for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 measures. Other things I wanted to point out are in 32, you've got a G sharp, you're going to use a low 1, and you are going from a G sharp down to an E, so it's a low 1 to a high 2. That's a pretty big stretch to make sure it's in tune. In 33, you're doing that low 1 to a high 2 again. And then you're back to arco in 34. You've got a high 3 for an F sharp in 34, so you're going to go 2 for the E, regular 3, high 3, and then low 1 for the G sharp. If you want, you can do 3, high 4 for the G sharp. I just find a high 4 really difficult to do on viola. But if you've got long fingers and you can handle it, absolutely go for it. The other thing I wanted to point out would be the last note of this section. The last note of 34 is an eighth note. 26 is very similar, and we added a crescendo to make it even more similar, but it was 4 full quarter notes. 34 is 3 quarter notes and an eighth note on the end, so make it really short to demonstrate that you understand that there is an eighth rest following that last note. All right, other than that, set your metronome at 100, and we're going to play through this. 2, 3, 4, rest. noticed while I was playing was in 32, you've got that low 1 for the G sharp, but then you have to move your first finger up to regular 1 position for the E at the end of the measure. So just make sure it gets high enough. All right, that's it. Thank you, and I will see you back here tomorrow for the next section. Okay, cellos, so this is the part we've been waiting for. It's a little tricky. There's a lot of kind of shifting and extending within this section, but I'm going to go through it slowly and hopefully clearly. I've got a pretend cello here, so we're going to pretend this is my first finger tape, my third finger tape, and my fourth finger tape. So I'm going to use this to show you what this fingering is going to look like. Starting in 27. The first 2 notes, and only the first 2 notes, you're going to play in half position, okay? Because if you played it in first, you'd have to go 1, 1, 1. And we're going to be going fast enough that I don't think that that's going to be very practical. So starting in half position, you're going to put your second finger on your first finger tape. You're going to play the E with your second finger. Lift up your second finger and play the D sharp with a 1. Then you can go back to first position. So it'll be E, D sharp, E. 2, 1, 1. Those are the first 3 notes of 27. The rest of it you can just go ahead and play in first. 2 for the F natural, back to 1, 4 for the C, and then just reach back for the E flat. So this first little phrase in 27 will look like this. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1. So moving on in 28, where it says to shift to a first finger on the B, we're going to go ahead and do that. So you can call this second position, I suppose. You're going to put your first finger on B on the G string. So if you have a third finger tape, put your first finger on it. Then you're going to play 1, 1, 2 for the C, 3 for the C sharp, and then 4 for the D. Okay? So after the rests in 28, 8th note, 16th, 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 16th. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes us to 29. If you're on the outside, you're going to stay there and play 2 more Ds with the 4th finger. If you're on the inside, you're going to just leave your hand there and play B with your first finger. Moving ahead and measure 29, you're going to put your second finger, replace your first finger with your second finger on B on that third finger tape, and you're going to go 2 for the B, 1 right behind it for the A sharp, back to B, pivot to reach D, or you can use an open D. I would discourage going over for just 1 16th note on a different string, but if you just can't manage the pivot, you can do that. Then back on the third finger for C, B with a 2, and then in measure 30, you're either going to reach back for 1 for A, or 3 for C. So let's do that all again. Starting after the rests in measure 29, your second finger is on B. 2, 1, 2, pivot for the D, 4, 3 on C, 2, and then either 1 if you're on the inside or 3 if you're on the outside. Moving on in measure 30 after the rests, you're going to go back into half position and do the exact same thing that you did in 27, but now you're on the G string. So my second finger is on my first finger tape for A, G sharp is right behind it, move my first finger up for A, and then 3 for B, 4 for C, or if you're on the inside, A. So it'll look like this. 2, 1, 1, 3, 4. Or, if you're on the inside, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1. Moving on in 31 after the rests, you're in first position, 4, 3, 1, 1, 4 for the B, and then 4 for the E. So you're going to go into half position on that G sharp. So let me show you again. 4, 3, 1, 1, 4, 4. C, B, A, G sharp, B, E. Moving on in 32 after the rests, first position, open D, C, B, A, 33, G sharp, you're going to use a low 1. Moving on in 33 after the rests, open D, C, B, A, B, and then B, B, and you're done. I'm going to go through this whole thing again, just showing it and saying the numbers of the fingers. Starting in 27, half position. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 1, rest, rest, shifting into second position, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, or 1 if you're in first, if you're on the inside, 1, rest, second finger goes to B, 2, 1, 2, extend or pivot, 4, 3, 2, 3 if you're on the outside, 1 if you're on the inside, rest, rest, half position, 2, 1, 1, 3, 4 if you're on the outside, or 1 if you're on the inside. Rest, rest, we're in the end of 31, 4, 3, 1, 1, 4, 4, end of 32, open 4, 3, 1, 1, end of 33, open 4, 3, 1, 3, and then regular B. So here's what all of that craziness is going to look like. So our goal tempo is 100 to a quarter note here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, da 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 da. This is something you're going to want to practice really slowly. I'm going to play through it really slowly. Don't look at my fingers. This is a viola, but I am going to be playing the right notes so that you can hear what it sounds like. So that's really fast. I'm going to actually play at a quarter tempo, so I'm going to set my metronome to 50, and I'm going to play these as eighth notes. Okay, so that was at a quarter tempo. Now I'm going to play it at half tempo. 1 and 2 and 3. And finally, I'm going to play through at quarter note equals 100, which is the full tempo. 1 and 2 and 3. 2 and 3. So I would recommend practicing it exactly that way, if not starting even slower than that, to make sure that you're getting the notes and the fingers and you're practicing the correct pattern. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for the next part. Alright, basses, so this section starts out with that classic tango rhythm, 1 and 3, 4, 1, rest, and 3, 4, 1, rest. You've heard it a million times, and it's fun to play. The only thing I wanted to point out other than that is, since we only have, well, we have no time to go from arco to pizz going into 27 and only 2 beats to get out of it, go ahead and leave your bow in your hand for this part. And in measure 32, you've got a G sharp, so that's going to be 4 on E. Then the last note of 32 is a half position 1 on E for the F natural, 33 back to the G sharp 4 on E. Then pick up to 34, you go back to arco, make sure that that's a C natural, D C natural, B A, and then DVC on the E's. In 34, just notice that the last note is an eighth note, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, off on the and of 4. This is different than 26 where you had 4 quarter notes in a row and we put those tenuto marks on them. Here you're going to play legato again, but that last note is going to be clipped to show that there is in fact an 8th rest there. Okay, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and set my metronome to 100 and play through this. 2, ready, go. Alright, there you have it. I will see you back here tomorrow for the next part.